Welcome to my home. I'm Erin Hinton. I'm President, CEO of the Preparedness Council of Tennessee, and I hope you find this video useful. I will be following along in the manual while you follow along with me, but I will not be reading everything to you. So during the taping, if you feel that there is something that you need to read, feel free to pause the video and then come back. So the first thing I would like to point out in the manual is that you have a couple of brochures about our nonprofit. And then another little pamphlet that you have is called All Is Safely Gathered In, and this is published by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it has 4 segments to it as far as preparedness that can help you get started, go in order. It starts with obtaining a 3-month supply and getting some drinking water and creating your financial reserve and how to create a long-term storage plan. So this is a preparedness plan kind of in a nutshell. And this is a really good place to start if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all of the preparedness stuff and you're not quite ready to do everything in the manual. This would be a very good place for you to start. So the first place we will talk about in the manual is the water. So if you will turn to the water tab in your manual. Again, I'm not going to read everything to you. I'll be going over some of the more important parts of how to store your water. I will not be going over everything. You can read everything individually yourself. But the most important thing to remember about water is to rotate it every 6 months. And you can accomplish that either by just dumping it out, watering your plants, doing whatever you want to do with it. And the American Red Cross says that you really should add a little bit of bleach to your water, but if your water comes from a municipal source, you usually do not have to treat it anymore. But if it comes from out in the country or a well, you really need to talk to your local water municipal company. Hey, the different supplies that you're going to need for water, it's very basic. You definitely need bleach, and you do need to store quite a bit of bleach for other things, for sanitation and washing clothing and things like that. And especially if there is any kind of a sickness that's going around, you will need bleach to sanitize all of your counters and the bathroom and all of that stuff, because those sicknesses can spread to other people. Coffee filters are really good to have if you have to get your water from a lake or a river, and if the water is dirty, you want to filter your water through the coffee filter first before you treat it. And you need some droppers. I got this dropper from an old bottle of some liquid herbs, but you can get these in the pharmacy sections. Sometimes the pharmacist will just give them to you from little baby medicine bottles. And this is so that you can measure out your bleach. You also need something to store your water in. There's several different ways you can do it, but the best way to do it is either these heavy-duty juice containers or soda containers. The other kinds of containers, such as milk jugs, water jugs, these are not good containers. First of all, when you bring this kind of a water jug home, the plastic breaks down, and over a few months period of time, you could go to where your water is and find out that your water is all over the floor. But these containers last for a million years, even in your landfills. So that part of it's not good, but very excellent for storing water. And you want to obviously clean these out with a little bit of soap and water, rinse them out, and put a little bit of bleach in them. You also will need, possibly, what's called a little portable stove. This is called a sterno stove. I purchased this from a company called Emergency Essentials. And you can buy these little heat cells, and you can heat up your water and boil it. You can also heat up a room with these, a small room. You can also just heat up small cans of soup and things like that with a pot on top of there. You also may need to have another way to heat your water, boil your water, in case they tell you that the water is extremely contaminated. A propane stove works well for that, and store a bunch of propane tanks, and then your water purification tablets. What I noticed about these is that the expiration date is not anywhere on the package, so you want to make sure that as soon as you purchase these, write an expiration date. They will expire in 4 years, generally. That is if they're fairly new when you buy them from the shelves, off the shelves. And then bottled water, that works for maybe 6 months to a year, but again, this kind of water, the plastic does break down, and I know there's a lot of controversy about whether water stored in these kinds of containers will cause cancer. I personally don't know, but I do know that the plastic does break down, and then your water is all over the place. And you do not want to refill these with any other water. Just want to consume them and get rid of them. Same thing with this kind of water. You can purchase water like this, but consume it, get rid of the container. Okay, page 3. The American Red Cross gives you also some suggestions. There's some guidelines. I won't go over that, but they do tell you that you need to have at least 3 days of water stored. Now, the Civil Defense Authorities of the United States recommend 14 gallons of water. So it's 1 gallon per day for a 2-week period, which is different from what the Red Cross has recommended. I personally try to store as much water as I can. The 15-gallon, this is a 15-gallon container. You can also get the 55-gallon containers and store your water, but again, you have an issue with how do you rotate it. You need to keep these big containers inside. I keep them in my basement, but then you've got to pump out the water every 6 months. So you just want to think about that. Or you treat it, or you just use the water for sanitation only and not drinking, and then I rotate this water frequently. Okay, your next page, different container types. These are called a peat container. They're very heavy-duty plastic. They're really the best. There's the opaque plastic. You can store water in these bleach containers, but do not drink the water. So save these and use them just for storing water for sanitation only. Some people also will store some water in these things, and any of you people who do any canning in a water bath canner or a pressure cooker canner, you can put water in these and then process it, and it does seal. And the water will last about 5 or 6 years, but they're heavy, they're breakable, and but you can. It's possible. There's lots of different water filters and things as well. I'll go over that in just a little bit. Okay, now turn to page 5. This is your water storage techniques. It goes over a little bit more about the containers, the pre-treatment of water, how to store them. One of the things down at the bottom of page 5 I want to point out is that you do want to protect your water from heat and light. It will last much longer that way. And of course, you want to protect it from cold as well. All right, the next page, these are water purification techniques. It tells you how to clarify your water. There's different ways to distill your water. You can either boil it or use the bleach method, and it gives you the instructions of how to do that. And then the next page has your measurements. And you're not going to be able to memorize this, but if you ever have to bug out, this would be a manual that you would want to take with you, and you can look up this stuff. I already talked about the water purification tablets. And the next page, should I store more water? Yes, absolutely. If you have your some dry pack storage, food storage, definitely you want to think about storing 2 gallons per day per person. And yes, it does take up some space, but you need to find the space under cabinets, under beds, under tables, just wherever you can think of. And the next page is just additional water purification methods. There's different kinds of water bottles you can get. This just happens to be a drinking bottle that did come with tablets. The tablets expired, so now I'm going to need to get some new tablets. Just a little, it was on sale one time for $10, and I bought a whole bunch of them. I really like Katadyn, though, Katadyn, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They've got some wonderful filters. The best one that I recommend, it does cost about $300, but it's a pocket filter, and it's a pump system instead of a drip system. It will purify up to 13,000 gallons of water, which is what I like about it. It's very small, and but they do have some other products that aren't as expensive. But that's the one that I like the most. All right, the next page is iodine tincture solution. Most of you know what iodine is. It always makes a stain on your skin. This will also purify your water, but you don't want to use it for a long period of time. And same with these. It's only just a couple of weeks that you should be using something like this. This is only a temporary solution, just like the iodine, temporary. Okay, the next page has to do with this distilling water. And this is in a situation where if you are told by your municipal source that the only way to be absolutely safe from certain kinds of contaminants is to distill. If you don't have a distiller, this is the only way to do it, is to take a big giant pot and you're boiling it, and the condensation is dripping into your cup. It takes a lot of time. You don't get a lot of water at once, but you know, if that's the only way that you have, that's your only option. Right, the next page is water sources. Of course, you can get water from water heaters, toilet tanks. Think about it. When your toilet fills up, especially in the tank, that is fresh water. It is clean water, and that can be treated, and you can drink it. Of course, rivers and swimming pools. Obviously, you would not want to drink water from a swimming pool or a water bed, but they would be perfectly fine for sanitation. Your next page is storage locations, where you could store your water, just some suggestions, and just a little bit of information about safeguarding your water heater. And that is another source of water, is your water heater. And that concludes the section on water.